Inside the stories that affect you. This is Inside KELOLAND.
Good evening, I'm Don Jorgensen. Thanks for joining us on Inside KELOLAND. South Dakota's largest school district is experiencing growing pains that are only likely to get worse in the coming years. And while official numbers for this year are not in yet, last year more than 24,000 students were enrolled in the Sioux Falls School District. At some of the most crowded schools, fall enrollment is projected to be 2,200 students at Roosevelt High School and more than 1,300 students at Memorial Middle School. Both schools are hundreds of students over capacity. Many other schools are also dealing with crowded classrooms. On September 18th, voters could make more room if they pass a $190 million bond. Well, tonight, KELOLAND's Brady Mallory takes a look at what the bond will do and how it will affect your budget.
This isn't the lunchroom, but all of these students are hungry for a song.
Music is good for us because it feeds the soul.
Before these choir students can make music at Memorial Middle School, their teacher, Kathy Sunvold, is giving them a few notes about where they'll be sitting this year.
Music is very popular here and it's very big, and we're very excited to have such a growing and wonderful program.
In fact, choir, band, and orchestra classes are so full, some of the students do have to sit in the actual lunchroom. Part of the band class is in the cafeteria right now because there's not enough room in the classroom. As for Sunvold, there are 65 students in her choir class.
That is a lot. Yep, and we have room for a few more, but we try to cap out about 70 students because physically that's all the space that we have room for.
Sunvold says Memorial Middle School had about 700 students when it opened in 1995. Since then, that number has doubled.
It doesn't look like we've gotten any smaller, that's for sure.
Sioux Falls school leaders estimate the district will have about 25,000 students 5 years from now.
We've been out in the community a lot, making sure that folks get as up to speed as they can get on this topic.
On September 18th, voters will decide on a $190 million bond. Maher says part of that money would pay for a new high school, a new middle school, and a new elementary school. That's not all. $50 million of that money would go toward new safety and security upgrades for existing schools in the district.
We've got two buildings that we don't have the perimeter security that we would like, and that's entering into a vestibule and then having to be allowed into the building.
If voters decide to pass the bond, here's what it will mean for your wallet. Depending on the value of your property, most homeowners in the district would pay about $2 more per month. Initially, the $190 million bond was at $280 million. Maher says the task force looking at the issue cut $90 million out of that. If the bond doesn't pass in this election, Maher doesn't expect much to change for any future vote.
That's not a decision that I get to make, but it would surprise me if we would come back and say, let's do less.
Sunvold is glad looking at ways to accommodate growth is part of a community conversation.
We need to address the problem now and plan for the future.
No matter what voters decide, Sunvold says this won't change.
We're going to do our very best to make sure that they get the best possible education, no matter how many of them are here, whether we have small class sizes or large class sizes. The teachers and the staff and the administration are working really hard to ensure that these kids are getting equal opportunities across the district.
And that should be music to a parent's ears. With Eye on KELOLAND, I'm Brady Mallory.
Up next, we're going to sit down with the superintendent of the Sioux Falls School District, as well as a representative with the Vote Yes campaign to dig a little deeper into the bond election. Stay with us inside KELOLAND. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Solving a crowding issue in Sioux Falls schools. That's one of the goals of the multi-million-dollar bond, going to a public vote in just over a week. To talk about the measure and drive home the need for the space for our students, we are joined now by Superintendent Brian Maher and Vernon Brown, a member of the Vote Yes campaign. Welcome to both of you. We'll start with you, Dr. Maher. $190 million, it's a lot of money. How did the district come up with that dollar amount?
That's a good question. You know, one of the things we did well over a year ago is we started identifying needs. And I think it was easy for us to identify the problems. The tougher piece is to figure out what does that solution look like. And it was the goal of the Board of Education to really go out and get that input from the community to say, how do we address these problems? From that, we had community meetings, we had community surveys, and then ultimately a 30-member community task force. And then we had that task force wade through all of the issues that were in front of us looked at the pain points we had with the growing enrollment and the facilities that we currently have, and then they came up with the solution. And I would tell you the $190 million is a big, big number, without a doubt. But I'll tell you, they backed that down off of, I think it was over $280 million when they started that process, and sifted through what are needs and what are things that are maybe we could classify as wants. That's eventually then we settled on that $190 million figure.
So who are the members of this task force that you talked about?
Yeah, one of the things we did was we really tried to figure out how do we get a representative group that looks like the school system. We wanted 30 members to represent the city both demographically and geographically. And that's a near possibility, but we really tried to do that. I would tell you that I think that group ended up being incredibly high functioning. When you put together a group of 30 people and expect them actually to produce work, that's a tall task. But due to the efforts of everybody, but specifically Vernon Brown and Nan Baker, who were the co-chairs of that committee, they got a lot done and ultimately handed off a list of recommendations to the board. Let's
bring in Vernon Brown here, a member of the Vote Yes campaign. How are you feeling going into this just outside a week away?
You know, anecdotally, we get great feedback. Dr. Maher is a great spokesperson, and he's out speaking more on it. We're the back team trying to make sure that the voters are informed, that they understand what the issue is, and encouraging them to vote yes on this issue. You know, Don, clear back in the day when you and I started here, I remember covering the building of Roosevelt High School first, and then Washington High School. That was 26 years ago. And when you think of how much our population has exploded in that time, 9,000 more students in that time, which Dr. Maher always points out, if we isolated those students, they would be the third largest district in the state, those 9,000 students, bigger than Aberdeen, bigger than Watertown, bigger than Brookings. And we haven't built a high school or the middle schools to accommodate that growth. And we have to do that. Because when someone moves to Sioux Falls or is considering a move to Sioux Falls, what's the first thing they ask for when they're talking about moving here? If they have children, what's going on in the public school system? Where will my kids go to school? How crowded are the schools? What's the quality of education in the community?
We should point out that there is no organization, an organized group for the vote no part of this, the whole issue here. But as we know, we've seen in the past, sometimes a silent majority can speak pretty loudly at the end of the night. Does that concern you, and what part of that segment might concern you?
You know, I think probably the biggest concern we have is some confusion. You know, there are a lot of political issues coming up in November. In fact, there are political ads on the air right now, one pertaining to the tech schools and a tobacco tax. We've had some people say, well, does that pertain to this? No, not at all. That's a state issue that's going to be voted on in November. This is a local issue that will build schools for Sioux Falls, and the $190 million would build those facilities.
All right, we have a lot more to talk about. I've got a lot of questions prepared for both of you, so we're going to just take a quick break. When we come back, we will take another look at the school project that could benefit from passing the school bond. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside KELOLAND. Tonight we're talking about the upcoming $190 million bond issue for the Sioux Falls School District. And while some of that money would go for new school buildings, a portion of the bond will also help with improvements to current facilities. That includes the aging Whittier Middle School. KELOLAND's Matt Holson shows you what the future could hold for the building and its current neighborhood in the core of the city.
Some 950 middle school students call Whittier home during the school year. Stephen Fletcher lives around the corner. His daughter was a Whittier 8th grader last year, and his son is starting 6th grade at the neighborhood school this fall.
I still can't find my way around there.
Fletcher admits he struggles to navigate the aging facility and wonders what it's like for his kids and their teachers. He says it's time for a change.
You can tell that it's an old building that's been added on to a number of times over the years.
Whittier Middle School has served these students for more than 90 years, and with it being that old, it's not quite as efficient as it needs to be for today's student. The building has been added on to 12 times since 1923. Sioux Falls School District Superintendent Brian Maher says on the inside there are 18 different elevations.
Now that doesn't mean 18 stories. That means you go up a couple steps here and down a couple steps there, and There are 18 different elevations, so from an ADA standpoint, it's an absolute nightmare.
While the bones are still in good shape, Maher says that the end could be near for the oldest building in the school district.
What we're really doing through this bond election is setting the stage for a new Whittier Middle School down the road.
$4.7 million of the proposed $190 million bond issue is earmarked for the preparation of a new building. The money would be used to buy properties around the existing school as they become available.
If we would purchase those homes and demolish them, those are affordable homes in a community that's starved for affordable housing.
Maher says in addition to building a new school in the same area in roughly 10 years, he would also like to look at ways to add back in some affordable housing. Fletcher thinks that would be nice, but is in favor of whatever it takes to move forward.
They're going to have to do what they're going to have to do in order to build it.
Maher says Whittier boasts an eclectic student body. According to its latest data profile, 41% of the students are white, 21% are black, and 17% are Hispanic.
It's a mix demographically, it's a mix socioeconomically, and it really is a building that brings in a lot of emotion, and there's a lot, and I mean that in a very positive way, a lot of emotion from our community, and a lot of emotion from the alumni, and a lot of emotion from those who are currently there. It certainly serves a huge purpose in our school district.
And that's why keeping it in the same neighborhood is a goal for the superintendent and other district leaders.
I think the big thing is we're preparing for the future, and the future would be a new middle school building on that site so that Whittier Middle School lives there for, who knows, maybe another 100 years, but certainly for a good long time.
But first, the district needs funding to get the ball rolling. With Eye on KELOLAND, I'm Matt Holson.
And we continue our conversation now with Superintendent Brian Maher and Vernon Brown with the Vote Yes campaign. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but Dr. Maher, if the bond does pass, talk a little bit about Whittier Middle School and the plan for it.
Yeah, the plan for Whittier is a long-term plan. One of the things that came loud and clear from the task force was they said we want to stay committed to the core of our community. And that conversation actually went around several buildings. Lowell Elementary got quite a bit of conversation as well. But a lot of people have gravitated towards the conversation around Whittier. And the ultimate goal is to always have a middle school at the site where Whittier Middle School currently is.
Then that would mean buying properties.
Whittier today is 95 years old, so I don't know that we're going to sink a lot more money into that building, but what we're going to do is plan for the next Whittier Middle School. Maybe 10 years or so, maybe a few years less, maybe a few years more than that. I would anticipate that there would be a new middle school on that site. Ultimately, we need to acquire a little more land, and that's problematic because you've got to take houses out of commission that today are houses that are in an affordable housing area, and this community is starved for affordable housing. So as a district, we're very cognizant of that. We don't want to displace anybody. That's why we're looking at a long-term view. As houses become available, we'll certainly be interested in them. And ultimately, our goal would be to have a new middle school, a new Whittier Middle School on the site where the current Whittier Middle School exists.
This is going to take some time, though, isn't it?
It's exactly right.
What other projects could this $190 million fund? Now, I believe you're talking about security measures throughout the district, millions of dollars in security.
Right. We have 14 different projects that the task force went through that the Operational Services Department from the school district provided and said, what do you think's most important? And not surprising, the issues dealing with safety and security rose to the top. So safety.
What are we talking about?
Equipment? I'll give you one real shining example. Over time, our district has put in a lot of money to make the entrances of our schools safe. Bob Bray, our Director of Risk Assessment, loves to say that perimeter security really is critical in school security. So coming into the schools, in almost all of our schools, you enter into a vestibule and have to be allowed into the facility. We've got 2 schools where we haven't done that yet. So we will, those would be 2 prime areas where we would have safety and security improvements in our buildings. By the way, we'll do that whether the bond issue passes or not. But those are the last 2 buildings that we need to bring up to speed in terms of safety, security.
Any other facilities then that this bond would help?
Oh, like I said, 14 different facilities would be touched by the nearly $50 million that we're talking about. But I would contend on that while 14 buildings are going to get touched, every building will be impacted because of those improvements.
Vernon, as a member of the Vote Yes campaign, do you hear any feedback from supporters or opponents about some of the issues that Dr. Maher is outlaying here?
You know, those facilities are very important because they will touch so many neighborhoods in Sioux Falls too, but really the conversation surrounds that new high school, the new middle school, and eventually an additional elementary. And then occasionally when we're talking, people will ask those questions. Well, what about those that aren't addressed, like Lowell Elementary, some of the older facilities? That'll be for the next task force down the road. We have to take it in bite-sized chunks, and we wanted to make sure that this was affordable for the community. And we know that on the $185,000 home, it's $2 a month property tax increase. We were pleased as a task force. Vote Yes campaign is pleased that it's an affordable option to keep our community going forward.
Dr. Maher, if the bond, again, if it would pass, and I know that Sanford has donated some land to the school district, is that a viable option for the district for a new high school?
It is a viable option. It is, first of all, it's a very generous gift. We're incredibly appreciative for it, and it is a viable option for a high school. I would tell everybody in the community, though, that it's not our only option for a high school. So we're vetting 3 different properties to determine what the best site would be for a high school. 2 other sites in the northwest quadrant.
We'll leave it there for this. All right. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. Inside KELOLAND. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside KELOLAND. We have been talking about the upcoming election in the Sioux Falls School District concerning a $190 million bond issue. Before we went to the break, we were talking about the potential of building a new high school. We're talking about the northwest section. We said Sanford has donated some land, but you said there are some other properties out there in the northwest. Why northwest?
The part of the task force makeup was 2 members from the city. We had Mark Cotter and Mike Cooper, who helped with the city development and city planning, and we had them as part of the committee. And they helped us and talked to us about what our potential for continued growth is and where is that growth likely to occur. And the 2 most likely places in the school district, at least, are in the northwest quadrant of the school district and in the southeast quadrant of the school district. So after hearing all of that and looking at where our current schools existed, the task force said the best place for a high school is in the northwest quadrant of the community, and the best place for a middle school is in the southeast quadrant of the community. And we've looked at enough land so far that we think we can make sure that we follow through on the recommendations from the task force.
And we know Roosevelt's bursting at the seams, Memorial Middle School also on the west side, bursting at the seams, so that's
Correct.
Probably, it seems like a logical area. But if a bond issue passes, we go forward building new schools, then becomes another emotional decision, boundary changes. Vernon, you were here back in the early 90s when we realigned the boundaries in the Sioux Falls School District, and it gets emotional.
Oh, it does. I make light of it, and I tell people, I think after we do the boundaries, it'd probably be time for me to leave. As time-consuming and as inclusive as we've tried to be in this process, and as emotional as this gets, there's nothing like the emotion that accompanies boundary changes. But here's one thing that I think is important for our community to know, Don, and that is whether we pass a bond issue or don't pass a bond issue, we're going to have to redo boundaries. We're going to have to redistribute our population, whether we pass a bond issue or not. So people shouldn't vote yes or vote no based on that emotional decision that isn't too far down the road.
Well, since you brought it up, what if it doesn't pass? Are there contingency plans? Will there be anything to renovate existing buildings, add on?
Well, I usually give a long-winded answer for that.
Feel free.
The plan B is this, and that is that if you come into our classrooms prior to the bond issue or right after the bond issue, hopefully you won't see anything different from the outcome of that election, because our teachers are going to teach and they're going to do the best of their ability. So short term, I don't think there's going to be any changes. Long term, I want to be really careful because I don't want to be that parent who says, if you do that again, you're grounded forever. I want to make sure that it's something that's logical and something that we will actually do, and I don't believe in scare tactics. But I think one of the things that we would have to do is to redo the boundaries, and I think we would have to do that, you know, as soon as next year.
Wow.
If a bond issue wouldn't pass.
Mm-hmm. Vernon, with the Vote Yes campaign, here's your last plea, I guess, to the viewers. Are you worried about voter turnout?
Absolutely.
Is that key to you? Because we know sometimes in a small election like this is, they don't get the numbers.
You know, unfortunately in Sioux Falls we don't have great numbers, especially in school board elections. So our entire process, our entire intent on Vote Yes for Schools is a really get out the vote campaign, informing people, letting them know what the issue is, and telling them to get out and vote. And you can do that now. You can get out early. You can vote early at IPC, 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays, and then the actual vote is September 18th, and the school district is using the 13 voting centers, and you can choose any one that's convenient to you. Go to that and cast your ballot. But we're really encouraging people, get out and do it beforehand so it's just checked off the list, because it is so important. This issue, there's no better economic development for Sioux Falls than investing in our school system, and this is your way to do that. Go take the time to get an early vote in, or at a minimum do it on September 18th.
And I think you're already encouraged by the number of absentee ballots that have already been cast.
We're I think over 1,100. That's growing every day. There are 60 to 70 people voting early. We'd love to see that number even go higher as we go into the final week.
What do you say to the people who don't have any children in school? That's a tough sell sometimes.
I will tell you what they tell me.
Okay.
And they say, I have grandchildren in the school district. I want the families to stay in Sioux Falls. I'm going to support this. And Dr. Maher has great anecdotal stories. He's been out talking to so many groups, and he hears from elderly people as well.
In less than a minute, Dr. Maher, just talk about the perspective of this vote. How big is it to the district, to Sioux Falls?
Well, it's very big. You heard the impact. New high school, new middle school, new elementary school, and a lot of upgrades to 14 buildings. So really you've got $190 million that's going to impact every building in the district. And it's going to have an impact that's going to last years and years and years.
Well, we hope so. If it does pass, we hope we don't have to do this again.
Right.
All right. Well, I want to thank you both for being on Inside KELOLAND. Again, the election is September 18th, and be sure to do your civil duties and get out and vote. You can find out more about today's topics online at KELOLAND.com. Just click on the Inside KELOLAND section. Be sure to join us every Sunday following the 10 o'clock news right here on KELO TV. That's all the time we have for today. Be sure to join us again next week for more on what's going on Inside KELOLAND. I'm Don Jorgensen. Thanks for watching.